welcome to the ministry. And today we're talking about, are you building idols to your past? This is a tough one because I must start by saying I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. The Lord has us in a season right now that He's trying to get us to identify our idols. He's doing this with Christians, and you're going to see it happening in the world. Because why? You're about to see the Lord knock down the idols. I've spoken about this before in previous words. I've had two dreams where He has shown me that the large statues were being knocked over. They were falling apart like sand, and then I saw the Oscar statues falling over. One followed by the other, followed by the other, followed by the other. They were all falling over. And what it was God was showing a depiction of modern day, what happened when the covenant, what do you call it? Wasn't it Joseph's covenant? David had, or the Ark of the Covenant. And the Ark of the Covenant was stolen by the enemy, and they took it and put it in the room, and the room had all of these idols in it. And what ended up happening is the idols were falling off the wall. First time it happened, they just fell over. And I don't think anything broke off of them the first time they fell over. They came back, put their idol back into its standing position. When it fell over the second time, it broke its head off and its hands fell off. What we're seeing happening right now is God is sifting and shaking people because He's trying to separate everyone from their idols. When God is testing you and walking you through seasons, He's actually trying to get you to release your idols. As God goes through you, you will be in a season where He's shifting you from place to place to place. Now, some ministers will call it the season of wandering, but God is allowing you to wander in these seasons because He's trying to separate you from things that are no longer part of where He's trying to take you. And it's uncomfortable. You're not going to like it because you're going to start losing things. For 17 years, I walked through seasons of, we might be in the 18th year now, Jesus, where I had things. I was not in a stable living condition. I tried to put everything in storage. And if you notice, the things that you try to hold on to, you end up losing. We ended up losing that stuff in that storage. I ended up moving to another location. All that stuff that I didn't bring with me, I ended up losing because the person that I left it behind with ended up throwing it away. I ended up moving out of that place, came back here, and ended up here for a period of time. I ended up losing more stuff after I came here. Ended up leaving, going other places. I was there in that situation for 3 to 4 years, and every time I had to move from room to room, place to place, space to space, I ended up losing more stuff. I'd lose a bag. I'd lose a whole closet full of stuff. I'd end up leaving behind stuff, and that stuff would be thrown in storage, and then it would be lost again, and all that kind of stuff. Lost. Clothing lost. Property lost. Notebooks lost. I literally had somebody steal my entire bag of stuff. Now, partially that was my fault because I left it there, but I kept losing things. And when you keep losing things, the more you lose, the tighter you grip the things that you have. Even when I left that city, I left a storage space full of stuff. Within 7 months, I lost all that stuff. Gone. I ended up with 2 suitcases, and the bag, a book bag. What are you holding on to? What are you keeping as idols from your past? I used to believe that when I first lost the first house, that all that stuff that I had there was going to go to my next living situation, because those were the things that were my comforts that I felt that I needed to keep. I lost those things. The tragic part is I lost all my photos of my mother at the time too. The things that we hold on to and keep dear as idols over God, God will make sure we lose them, because He wants to know that He remains sovereign in our lives. He is God, not the things that we hold on to. But we should hold on to. No, it's what we let go of allows for space. I remember during that season when I was losing a lot of stuff, especially when I was not in a place that I felt stable at home, I would carry a lot with me. And I remember one of the women that I ran into during that time period, she was the photographer that did my pictures. She ended up telling me, you carry a lot of stuff with you on a day-to-day basis. God can't give you anything new until you release what you're holding. And you know something? I didn't start getting new things until I stopped carrying the things that I was carrying on a day-to-day basis, because I felt like I needed to carry. The bag that I ended up getting stolen from me, had I left it behind and locked it away, I would have never lost it. It was some other paperwork I had that the day that I ended up losing that paperwork and documents, I wouldn't have lost those had I not been carrying them. Sometimes we carry things we shouldn't be carrying because we don't believe that they're secure where they are, so on and so forth. So we drag ourselves and bog ourselves down with stuff and things that we feel are important to us. They're our idols. They're the things that if we lose this, it's not going to work. Maybe it's meant to be lost because maybe you weren't meant to continue to carry it into that next thing, into that next season, into that next. Sometimes we try to hold on to things in order to take them with us to that next place. But maybe we didn't need it in the first place. Maybe we didn't need it where we were going. Maybe it wasn't necessary. There are things that I'd lost from previous seasons that do I wish I hadn't lost them? Yeah, but I remember one point in time before I left New York, I had taken photos of everything that I had in my storage space. I knew I was going to lose that stuff 7 months later. I looked at the photographs of all the things that I had in that storage space, and I really came to the realization it was only about a handful of stuff that really needed to be kept in there. And had I been thinking and realized the importance of just that handful of stuff, I'd have had that with me, and it wouldn't have mattered. I was irritated that I lost 3 or 4 things out of that whole set of stuff that I didn't bring with me. That's all I was irritated about, because most of that stuff could be replaced. It was just clothes and notebooks. The notes could not be replaced. The books that were actual reading books, you could just replace those. Recipe books, all those kinds of books, they could be replaced. But sometimes we hold on to things that were unnecessary. When I look back at that stuff, all that stuff was old, worn out stuff. But it was the principle of losing. When you're living a transient lifestyle and you're constantly moving and you're constantly in a state where you have nothing, you become dependent on the things that you do have, because you feel like if I can keep holding on to this stuff, you make those things into an idol. And the funny thing about it is, if you had all that stuff, if I had everything that I had accumulated from the first time that I left my home all the way up until now, I'd be looking through half that stuff and been like, I don't need any of this stuff. Because see, the thing about it is when God is preparing you to go to a new place, He's going to give you new stuff when you get to that next location. Now, there are some things that you can't replace. Intellectual property. You can't replace intellectual property. You can't replace photos if those were the only physical copies of those pictures. And the Lord has always said that I'll get it back. And He has been giving me back images, but they weren't those images. God has a way of restoring you in ways that you did not understand. There are pictures of my mother I know I'll never see again because of the fact of where they came from. These photos were photos from her life prior to me being in it. And only people that had physical copies of those images would be able to restore those photos. The only other way is that the originals come back to me, or that by some miraculous thing that those photos were other people had other copies of them and they managed to come back to me by that route. But that's the only way that I can think that they can come back to me. God knows what you had to release in your seasons of duress, distress, and wilderness that you could not keep. He will honor those, but you have to relinquish your idols, because if you're willing to let it go, it will come back to you. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about Abraham when he takes his son up to the mountain and the Lord tells him to sacrifice his son. The Lord told him before he even left that he was going to be sacrificing his son. And something in his spirit told him, I don't think that's going to happen. I can't come into agreement that the Lord is going to have me get this son. This is the promised child. This is the child He told me was the child that I was always meant to have. And He's going to have me sacrifice this child. Something in his mind said, no, I can't believe that. And in saying, no, I can't believe that, he yet and still walked through the motions of going. He took his assistants with him. He took his son up the 3-day walk up that mountain to the point of sacrifice. And he was setting up the sacrificial location. To remind me of an old cartoon where it was, I think it was Bugs Bunny, where they were trying to figure the person was setting up to barbecue him, and he was looking at all the stuff that the guy was putting together. He was putting in the pot. He was putting this in the pot. He was putting that in the pot. He was putting the other stuff in the pot. He was cutting up the vegetables and all this kind of stuff. And then he would drop the bunny into the pot. And he's like, "Wait, where's the food at? What we cooking for dinner?" That's what it was like for Abraham's son. It's like, wait, you getting everything ready for the sacrifice, but where the sacrifice at? Daddy, where's the sacrifice? And then he goes and he grabs him and he ties him down on the sacrificial place. And I'm sure the boy was screaming at this point. Was like, wait, what, Dad? What? And he was like, he went through every motion. And it was right at the motion in which he was about to take that hatchet and cut that boy that the angel said, stop. We know we can trust you now. Sometimes the Lord will allow you to lose all that stuff in the previous season. Sometimes He will put things that you think that you're supposed to have up for sacrifice to see if you idolize those things more than you do Him. And because of that, He will make it be so that they will become sacrificial. If you don't sacrifice them, He knows that you are holding them as an idol. Now, these are just items. But what if you're holding your marriage as an idol? What if you're holding your business as an idol? But God gave me the business. God told me that this is my kingdom husband. God never wants you to put any of that stuff over Him. He will remind you over and over again. It's like, you're not making this an idol, right? You're not making this an idol, right? Are you sure? Because I'll put it back up on the chopping block if you desire to make it into an idol. Because I got to test and see. And that is what God is doing in this season. He's testing and see where our idols are. Because if we're not willing to let go of everything, I'm talking about everything. Your mama, your daddy, your sister, your brother. I remember I was listening to Minister um, at my old church. And he said that when he left his family to go into ministry, he had to leave everybody. And it says in the word, when Abraham left, go leave your mother and father's house and go to a place that I will show you. You don't know where you're going, you don't know how you're going to get there, but you're going to have to leave. You're going to have to leave everything you know to get to that next place. Now, sometimes he'll take you to a familiar place in order to test you and put you through that extreme experience. But sometimes after he's tested you and you've passed those tests, now he's going to take you into the real arena. Now he's going to take off the training gear. You're going to have to go into that place without any. It's going to take you. I was listening to a word the other day, and a young woman was saying, God's about to take you into a place where it looks like you're going to be cut down, meaning you're going to be subtracted in order for him to add to you. It's like, wait a minute, haven't we lost enough? Yeah, we lost enough. And he's going to keep having you lose stuff until he knows for certain. It's like, let me test you right now and see if you let this go. Because he's always going to test to see if you're willing to let go of what your comforts are. He may not take it away, but he's gonna test to see if you like that thing more than you like him. Do you like your house more than you like him? Oh, your house is in foreclosure. Are you?